Okay, so here's the deal. We are going to create an imaginary land, okay? And we're just going to make a rough draft of it. So when you do your actual map, you're going to leave room for a scale and everything. So you're really working with like a square shape, okay? And you're going to end up putting this on a much larger piece of paper, but this is just kind of get an idea down. So um, I am going to create a land called Slinglandia, okay? And I think for this shape, I want to draw like a brain rot that I love, mainly because I love me some cappuccino, right? So I'm gonna draw me some cappuccino, achicino, whatever, however you say it, right? So I'm just gonna make it like this, okay? And so this is gonna be my land that I'm going to build from. So once I get an idea sketched out on my paper, then I'm going to grab one of these big old maps, okay? And I'm going to decide where I want to place my Slinglandia, okay? So I am going to put, I think Slinglandia sounds like it's somewhere, it needs to be somewhere that's kind of warm and nice. So I'm going to put it right here. Now, I want you to make sure that you have at least 2 lines of latitude and 2 lines of longitude. So you want to make it nice and big, okay? So I'm going to go like this and then draw it out like that. And then, and here we go. Okay. So I have at least 2 lines of latitude and at least 2 lines of longitude. Now I'm going to roughly draw my square in that shows me where it is on my paper, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what are my lines of latitude, okay? And even this one's kind of on there. And then what are my lines of longitude? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and label it. So this is 0 degrees. Then this one is 15 degrees south. And this one is 30 degrees south, okay? And then up here I have 30 degrees west and 45 degrees west and 60 degrees west, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to set it up just like I have it on there. Oops, I just realized I flipped it. So I'm just going to make it easy on myself and redraw it, okay, like this. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And then here's my, because this is just my rough draft, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get out my ruler, and I want to start with my like halfway point, okay? So my halfway point is about 15 degrees. So I'm going to measure with the inches side, okay? And I'm going to mark about halfway down. So about 5.5 inches down, I'm going to mark right here, okay? And then I'm going to go up about 2.5 inches from there. So that would be here, and then another 2.5 inches, 1, 2.5. Then I'm going to come back down this direction. I'm going to go 1.5, 2.5, and then 2.5 again, okay? So these are my lines of latitude. Now I'm not going to draw my lines of latitude through my map. I'm just going to draw them around my landform, okay? My major imagination land of imagination. Okay, here we go. And then I'm gonna have like this, and then that, and then again and there, and then again straight across right up here. Okay, and then I want to go ahead and label those. So I start at 15 degrees south was my middle point, okay? So then this would be 0 degrees, and then this would be 15 degrees north, okay? And then I'm going to go further south, and I go from 15, and I increase by 15 degrees, and I go 30 degrees south, and then I go 45 degrees south, okay? Now I'm going to add my lines of longitude, and these don't have to be perfect, but I have one that's really close to the edge, and then I have two more. I have a third one here too, I guess. So I also have 15 degrees. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to kind of mark my starting points on here, and then we'll curve it, okay? So we've got 8.5 inches. So I'm going to go about 1.5 inches. Well, actually, that first one is pretty close. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch there. And then I'm going to go about 2 inches and 2 inches. And nope, I'm going to do 2.5. 2.5 and 2.5 and 2.5. Okay. So now I'm going to kind of curve my lines of longitude. So I'm still going to start right here. Okay. And I'm going to straighten them out a little bit, but I want to show that curvature of the earth, right? Because the earth is not flat, no matter what anybody tells you, okay? And then I'm going to find my second one, and I'm going to kind of straighten it out, but still kind of carry that line down, okay? And then I have this one, and I'm going to go down, and then I'm, ooh, there we go. And then my last one comes out right over here. And so I'm just going to bring it down, kind of curve it a little bit, right? Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and label it. So I'm going to start with my middle one. So I should have, this one is going to be 15 degrees west. This is going to be 30 degrees west, 45 degrees west, and then we have 60 degrees west, okay? So that's how you're going to mark your latitude and longitude. Then you're going to do your relative location, okay? So looking at the map, what is around my land, okay? So I can see I have the Atlantic Ocean over here. So I'm going to go ahead and label this my Atlantic Ocean. Okay, and then I look and I see what else do I have here? I have, so way down here, next to my land is going to be, we've got Brazil here, okay? So I'm going to just kind of bring it up through here, and this is going to be Brazil. And then I've got Uruguay, which is just a little tiny place. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll just say this is Uruguay. Okay. And then I'm going to go back up here. So Brazil pretty much takes over all of the land over here, right? But I do want to show that this is part of the Atlantic Ocean. So this is still Brazil up here, okay? So then that gives us some relative location of where it is at. And that is how you do the location part of your rough draft. And then once you move to your final draft, then you'll add those in, okay? Now, let's move on to some of those landforms and everything. So you have to have a way for movement. So maybe this right here is going to be a railroad, okay? And I'm going to call it, because I'm doing slang, so I'm going to call it Brain Rot Express. Choo-choo, okay? Then maybe over here, I'm going to put a lake, and I'm going to call it Aura Lake. Okay. And then maybe this down here can be part of a river. Okay, so maybe my river goes all the way up here and then it lets out into a delta, right? So I'm going to change this just a little bit to show that delta letting out into the ocean. So I'm going to call this, we're going to call it Tough River, okay? And then this is going to be the Cooked Delta, okay? And then maybe I'm going to add a forest up here, right? And so I'm going to draw some trees to represent a forest. And I'm going to name it, let's see here, Riz National Forest. Okay. And then maybe over here, I'm going to have a mountain. Okay. So this is going to be a mountain area. And there's going to be a little mine here. Okay. And so it's going to be, I don't know, what would be another good one to put down? What about, this is going to be the 6-7 mine, and that's where they're going to get my natural resources, my rainbow stones, okay, that come in groups of 6 or 7. And then my 6-7 mine is going to be in my nonchalant mountains, okay. Then you're going to have like a capital city. So I'm going to draw some little skyscrapers, and this will be my city, okay. And cities also have little houses because not everybody lives in a high rise, right? So this will be my capital city. And I don't know, maybe I should have running out of funny names right now because my brain is dead. So maybe I'll have, let me look on the Google. What does the Google tell me? How about Bussin'? Let's do, this is going to be Bussin' City. Okay, and then you're going to add another little town. Maybe you have a road that goes between, it goes over. It's going to connect my capital city with my other smaller town. Okay, so maybe this is going to be Gyat Village. I know that means butt, and you know what? I think butts are funny. So we've got Gyat Village, and to connect these two, it's going to be Highway 41. Okay, so you're going to add your bodies of water and your landforms onto this, and then we should be able to look at your poster and see a natural set of regions, right? So we've got like a mountain region, we've got a capital city region, we have a national forest region. You should also be able to see some of your human environment interaction, right? So that would be like 6-7 mine. Maybe you get steel style trees from Riz National Forest that builds houses that are strong enough to withstand a hurricane or a typhoon or whatever. And so a lot of that information is going to show up on your rough draft that you create.